By definition, an antenna is a metal whip designed to receive and transmit radio signals within a given area.
It's BS in the Morning on KSLQ and Westplex 107.1.
There's something about that song that I just really like. I don't know what it is. I think it's because Shelley said she hates that song. I think that's why I like it.
Well, I never said I hated that song. Thank you for putting words in my mouth.
Are we off to a good start?
We always are off to a good start, Brad.
You know, Shelley, I admit something to you.
What's that?
I don't do well on the weekends.
Why?
I don't have my morning therapy session with you. That's why it's to the point where it's like there's something missing, you know? There's something
Yeah,
about,
I do know, because I feel the same way.
There's something about going on the air with you and you and I bantering back and forth and you making fun of me incessantly and me doing nothing but compliment you. I mean, there's something that's just...
Oh, please. In your dreams, buddy.
There's some...
You do nothing but compliment me?
If I could tell you something, maybe I will a little bit later because this person might be listening at that point. I don't know if they're listening right now, but I got a backhanded compliment about podcaster.
What's that?
Well, we'll talk about it in the 7 o'clock hour.
Somebody actually gave you a compliment?
Yes, but it was one of those compliments where it was like
they say it and then you look at them and kind of tilt your head and go,
no, just the opposite.
Thank you.
No, I'll explain it later. Okay. God, there's so much weird stuff that's happened since we've been on the air Friday. I mean, this deal with the balloon. And here's the other thing.
It was probably a weather balloon.
No, I have 2 useless degrees, okay? 2 useless degrees.
Oh,
two journalism degrees. I have heard 14,000 different stories about the balloon, and now they're saying, well, Biden, what are you talking about? Trump, they had 4 of these fly over the United States when Trump was in office. And I'm going like, okay, now, there's first...
Why didn't we know about that?
Well, but once again, why didn't we know about it?
Plausible deniability?
That's my point. And it's interesting because Trump and his people say, we didn't know anything about it. Nobody told us about it. Now,
plausible deniability.
Okay, there's 2 crazy things. They pretty much know
only 2.
Well, they know the track of the balloon. Okay, we'll talk about this a little bit later next hour. But the balloon went across the Pacific and then went way north and went across the Aleutian Islands. I don't know if you know the Aleutian Islands are the islands that go from Alaska. They go toward Russia, okay? If you look at a map, the Aleutian Islands are like this little chain of islands that go to the west of Alaska. And supposedly it went over the top of Alaska. Then it comes down through Canada. Why didn't the Canadian people know about this? And the reason that it got to be newsworthy because of the fact that on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday when they first picked up this balloon.
Hit it?
No, it was flying at 60,000 feet. It's flying more than 60,000 feet. The only airplanes that are up there at that height are usually Army, like Air Force and Navy fighters and things like that. But anyway, somebody saw it in Montana. Somebody says, "What's that?" And it got to the point where
Paul, come out here.
Yeah, Paul, look at this. Look at this big old balloon.
I see this thing in the air.
Right.
And I don't know what it is.
And supposedly some this is the story. Once again, there's 14,000 different stories about these stupid balloon things. So somebody got out, like Joe Amateur, astronomer, brought out his telescope, and they went, wow, look at that. It's a big old balloon. And they say, you lose perspective. Like, for example, okay, I'll tell you a funny story. Don't ask me why I do this, but I love stoplights. Okay, you know that about me.
Why do you do that?
No. Yeah, I love traffic lights. Okay. And I bought several of them, and I've been given several of them. Matter of fact, at one point in time, I talked to a company that was replacing traffic lights. I won't say where. And I said, do you sell those? No, we put in the dumpster and they get thrown away. So I said to the guy, I'd like to buy some of them. So anyway, a couple of days later, the guy calls me up and says, hey, we're up here at such and such street. I won't say where it was. If you want to come by, we'll give you as many as you want. So I loaded up my truck and I put these stoplights in. Okay. And I brought him back and I put him in the office, okay, in the front office, the front door of the office there in Washmo one day, okay?
That is true. He did do that.
I did. And one day, the UPS guy walks into my office and goes, wow, those traffic lights are huge. We don't realize how big they are. And that's the thing.
That's true. You do not.
Are
huge.
You don't realize how big traffic lights are until you're standing next to one. And it's standing.
Almost as big as a Yugo.
Right. I mean, they're very tall.
It's true.
Okay. It's supposedly this this balloon, the payload package underneath all the electronics was the length of 3 school buses. I'm going like, holy cow! Think about that for a minute. A school bus is like 40, 45 feet, 50 feet long. So that's 100. If let's say they're 50 feet, 3 times 150 with 3 times 50 is 150. A football field is 100 yards or 300 feet. So in other words, if you parked the beginning of this payload package from the balloon on the goal line, it went all the way to the 50-yard line. I'm going like,
Okay, so my question is,
okay.
Was it like one of those, maybe it wasn't just like a balloon collecting data, maybe there was people in there. What is that called?
Craziness.
A blimp. Maybe it was a blimp.
I don't think they would. I think they were. Well, if they are, they're dead now because we shot it down. So they're corpses.
Oopsie. Yeah. I mean, you got to do what you got to do to protect your country.
Anyway, we'll talk about it next break. If something that I have, if I haven't talked too much about, which I find now is getting to be like another one of these trials of the century. This crazy trial down in South Carolina with the Murdaugh, talking about the Murdaugh family. You know about this?
I don't. I'm sorry.
It is so bizarre. It is so bizarre. It's a guy, originally, he's an attorney, very well-respected attorney, and apparently his life was unraveling. And
happens?
Well, the first thing that happened, well, you know what? I tell you what, I don't have time to talk about this. Let's talk about this next break. Anyway, it's one of these things where this guy, like the guy who is keep in mind, this guy he's an attorney. And one of the things he does in the county they live in, he's one of the prosecutors. It's sort of weird. Apparently, in some, the laws are different in some states. I mean, in state of Missouri, we have DAs or prosecuting attorneys, and essentially they work for the county. Like, for example, there's the guy in St. Charles County, there's Kim Gardner in St. Louis City, and there's the guy out there in Franklin County. They're the prosecuting attorney. So if you get arrested for something, he's the guy that decides, well, we're going to take you to trial, or he says, nah, evidence not good, we're just going to let you out, which is what Kim Gardner does all the time. So this guy is a prosecuting attorney, and once again, you would think that he would know how to create the perfect crime because he's dealt with criminal defense criminal prosecution for a long time. And you see the stupid things that the criminals do. Mm-hmm. And apparently this guy didn't learn his lesson because stuff that happened last week is just like blowing up on him. And the whole thing is just bizarre. I mean, it comes down to someone who has a lot of money and doesn't have enough money and decides he's going to get more money, but he's going to get it from people that he represents. No. He got it from people he represented, which is sad. I mean, in other words, he stole their settlements. We'll talk about the whole thing next break.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so he didn't just.
Yeah,
okay,
he won. He won cases for people, and then never paid them. He got the money, but he never paid the people who were like the relatives of people who died and things like that. Okay.
Shame.
Right. Okay, we're gonna take a break at 6:27. It is BS.Show. That's a new song from Miley Cyrus called Flowers. Do you know that's not the first title? They, a lot of times they have these big controversies about what they name songs. What are we going to call this song? You know what I'm talking about?
What?
There's a controversy when the record producers put together a song. The artist wants it called one thing. Like, for example, I remember.
Well, who wrote it?
Well, I don't know, but
who writes it?
Well,
whoever writes it gets to name the song, I think.
No, they don't. It's just like sometimes they bring out movies. Like one of my favorite movies. It used to be called The Boat That Rocks, okay?
Oh, I know which one that is.
And they brought it out, and it didn't do very well. So they retitled it, and they did another PR campaign around it, and they called it Pirate Radio, okay? And then it did much better, okay? So sometimes songs come out, and there's I remember, who was it? Somebody talking about that there's a handful of songs that the title of the song never appears in the song. In other words, the words in the title of the song never appear in the song itself. Most songs, the title of the song is either a line from the song or it's like one word for the song. In that case, that song is called Flowers. Okay? And that was what Miley Cyrus wanted to name it. But the producer, who's a guy, you know what he wanted to call that song?
Dirt?
No, he wanted to call it I don't need no stinking man. That was the title of the song he wanted to have.
I know who that belongs to.
Which essentially
who that goes out to.
Which essentially is what that song's all about. I don't need no stinking man. I can hold my hand. I can give myself flowers. I don't need no stinking man to do that stuff for me. I'm fully capable of myself, right?
It's nice. It's nice to have a man do it for you, but
right. Who needs a man, right?
But you really.
Who needs a man when you
I'm
got?
not going to get started.
Who needs a man when you got Bob, right? Okay. Anyway, 6:34.
Wow. Completely different name, but wow.
Right. Okay. We talked about this last break, and I've been following this since this sort of made semi-national headlines. Now it's like there's going to be like 42, 48 minutes episodes of this, and it's going to be on, it's going to be on all these podcasts. The guy's name, their name is I can't remember what. God, now my mind's
a funny
blank.
Name.
No, I can't remember. That's their name. McDoug. Hold on, let me look it up here. It's where did my mind go? My mind just went. The guy Murdaugh, Murdaugh, Murdaugh. Okay, the guy's name is Alex Murdaugh. Now, keep in mind he is part of a dynasty of attorneys in this area and in South Carolina. Okay, and I believe his great grandfather started a law firm, which
How is South Carolina related to Missouri?
No, this is not related to Missouri. This is Murdaugh. This is this crime trial that's going on. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
you said it was in this area, and I'm like,
no, I said, Shelley, don't pay attention to what I say because I'm going to say Missouri, but I don't mean Missouri, and you didn't pay attention to what I said. Okay. So, never mind. No.
Got it.
Boy,
Sorry, a little slow on the uptake.
Are we having fun on Monday or what? Okay. His name's Alex Murdaugh, Murdaugh. Okay, and he comes from this long line of attorneys. His great grandfather, his grandfather, his father, and he's an attorney. Okay, and they have a law firm that's got. And what's interesting about it is when all this stuff came in, he was a partner in the law firm. And they changed the name of the law firm. The law firm was one of these Smith, Jones, Weebleton, Wimbledon, Pembleton, it was one of those long, had like 14 names in the law firm. Now they changed it to one thing, Shyster Incorporated. No, anyway.
Shyster.
No. So.
Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe.
Yeah, Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Okay, so things start to unravel when his son gets daddy's boat and gets drunk and gets a bunch of his friends on the boat, and they go flying down some river, and his son's driving the boat, and his son, apparently, it's at night, and his son's, hey, things are fine, we're flying down the river, and all of a sudden they hit a support for a bridge, and everybody in the boat is severely injured, and one girl, who supposedly his girlfriend, is killed. Okay.
Oh my.
So that's how this crazy thing.
I hate to hear that.
Well, I know it's a terrible story. So and his name is Paul. He's one of two sons. Okay. So that's how the story starts to unravel. So him and his son, and I think his son, when this happened, his son was like 16 or 17, and he's a minor. But since it's his father's boat, the local Brown and Crouppen people are suing his underwear off of him because of the fact that, his son was driving the boat, his son was intoxicated, this girl was drunk. And you know what? If it were my daughter, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd find the nastiest attorney I could get and go like, okay,
I would too.
Go after this guy. Was she stupid to be in a boat? Yes, but it wasn't her fault that she got killed because, some drunk kid's driving his rich dad's boat.
They didn't even have their life preservers on, I gather.
Well, no, but it didn't matter because the impact of the bridge, you're flying along the boat and all of a sudden you hit a bridge. Guess what? You stop in a hurry. So this sort of starts this whole crazy cavalcade of weird stuff that happens. Okay. Then I guess it was a couple years ago, and there's all sorts of controversy about this, and things are starting to unravel for this guy's life, and apparently the people at the attorney's office, where he's a partner, are starting to go, okay, there's something more to this story. This is sort of weird. There's strange things happening. Then he had a housekeeper, okay, and the housekeeper, quote unquote, fell down the steps at their house, okay? And there was somewhat of a controversy about that. Did she really fall down the steps or was she pushed? So anyway, she falls down the steps, or maybe she was pushed, at the Murdaugh's house, and she dies. So he gets a settlement from the insurance company, but he doesn't tell anybody. And he gets like a couple $1 million. And somehow or another, the lady's son, the lady's family, particularly her son and somebody else in the family, found out that A, their mom died at the Murdaugh house where she was the housekeeper, and B, Mr. Murdaugh got a settlement, and C, he kept it. It was like $2 million. So the next bizarre thing that happens is one day at his hunting lodge, his wife and daughter at their hunting, his wife and son, Paul, the guy that drove this boat and killed the girl, they're at the hunting lodge, and they're murdered. His son they're murdered. His wife and one son are murdered. His son is shot in the head with a shotgun. His wife is shot in the back with a rifle. Okay?
I'm thinking we're good on the whole murdered thing.
Okay, so, and nobody can figure out who did it. So then, not too long after that, Mr. Murdaugh, this Alex Murdaugh guy, his car breaks down, and he supposedly is standing outside his car trying to fix it or something like that, and somebody shoots him. But they don't kill him. The bullet grazes his head, and he falls over, and he's supposed to be dead. Why is he supposed to be dead? Because he hired the guy to kill him. He hired one of his former criminal defense attorney clients. What a nice guy.
Way to make friends and influence people.
Right. If you're a criminal defense attorney, you know who the bad criminals and the good criminals are. That guy's a terrible criminal.
You know who's good and who's
right.
not so good.
Because you work with him every day. So the guy was supposed to kill him. The guy was supposed to shoot him in the head, but he didn't quite get it, and he thought he got him, but he didn't. He grazed him, and he fell down, and he thought, oh, he's dead. So this comes out that he hired a guy to kill him. So then all of a sudden, things get really weird, and they find out there's millions of dollars missing at the law firm. So anyway, long story made short, they finally arrest him for, the first thing they arrest him for trying to, get himself killed and collect, because the reason he wanted himself killed, his surviving son was going to get a $10 million insurance policy. And the $10 million was going to go to take care of all the debts he'd gotten and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So now it comes out that then they started getting suspicious, going like, no, hold on a minute now. Where were you the night that your wife and your son were killed? Well, I wasn't anywhere near the estate, or whatever they call it, the hunting lodge, or they have dog kennels. Apparently he's a big hunter, and they have dog kennels, like for hunting dogs and stuff like that. So he claims he's nowhere near that. Okay? So he supposedly shows up at the lodge, a couple hours later, and after they've been killed, and he calls 911. Oh my God, my wife and my son have been killed, blah, 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 blah. Police show up, okay? And at one point in time, he says, and they've got this on tape, where he's being interviewed by one of the police officers, and he says something to the effect that, I can't believe what I did to my son, or something to that effect. Essentially, he's like sort of confessing that he shot his son. But
I don't think that was what he was confessing to.
Well, okay, so after all these exhaustive searches, they said the only suspect we have in the murder of your wife and your son is you. So he's on trial. So guess what tripped him up? And to the point where there are people saying, man, he is like, his defense attorney has been backed into a corner. Two things. His son, who was murdered, took an Instagram video or some kind of a video somewhere. I don't know where it was. He took it and uploaded to Instagram, and his dad's in it. And it's time-stamped. So in other words, when it went up on the server, it's time-stamped at like, let's say 8:42, and supposedly he's not there. He didn't get there till 10 o'clock at night. Get what I'm saying? In other words, he claims he didn't get to the murder scene till 10 o'clock at night. And he's in a video. You can see him in a video. What's really interesting is he's wearing one set of clothes. And not only that, apparently there was either a video recorder where his neighbor came over, and his neighbor was talking to him, his son, and his wife, all four of them together, and they're chit-chatting about. And this was also recorded earlier that evening, because the neighbor says, yeah, I went over there and talked to him about 7:40. The murder was supposedly committed like at 8 o'clock or something like that. So then the other bizarre thing is when the police show up, he's got on different clothes. So in other words, when he calls him at 10 o'clock, oh, my wife and my son have been murdered, and the police show up, they take pictures of him, and he's in a T-shirt, a white T-shirt and pants, whereas in the video that his son uploaded to Instagram or one of the social sites, he's in like cutoffs, are like shorts and a blue shirt. So, in other words, they know that he was there, and so they're saying that now the prosecuting attorney is saying he killed his son and daughter, or son, his wife, to essentially make him look like he was being persecuted, that someone was after him, and they tried to make it look like this was a family member of the girl who was killed in the boating accident. Does this all make sense?
It does.
So in other words, he's trying to create, and so how he does to essentially get himself out, allegedly kills his wife and son. And I'm going like, who would do that?
And then he tries to kill himself.
Well, then he tries to kill himself
because
because
his son would get
right
his money.
Because the insurance policy, as most insurance policies are,
doesn't cover suicide.
Exactly. If you kill yourself, and especially I could imagine on a $10 million insurance policy, there's a rider in there that says that if you kill yourself, guess what? We ain't paying. So he hires this guy, one of his former clients, to shoot him and kill him. And the guy is
bungles it up.
He's not Mr. Sharpshooter. He almost gets him in the head. He grazes his scalp. So then after they arrest him, this is part of the story I didn't tell. Then after they arrest him after that, because then they were throwing him in the jail for whatever fraud or something like that. Then he says, "Oh, I'm addicted to opioids." So they put him in a rehab clinic. And I'm going like, is this guy's life unraveling or what? I mean, and if this is really true, that he killed his wife and son, can you believe how heartless that would be? I mean, you're trying to get yourself...
He wants the whole family to be together. He didn't know that the guy he hired was inept.
No, I don't think he wants his whole family to be together. He wants to get off. He's trying to, get off the whole thing. It's just bizarre.
He paid someone to kill him, Brad.
I know, but once again, the point of it is that see, that's the reason he did that was when things were looking bad for him, when it was looking to the point where like, oh my God, he was going to end up serving time no matter what because he embezzled money from his law firm. He took money from settlements, and they talk about the morning that this happened, where his wife and son were killed. The morning this happened, he was confronted by the CFO, like the chief financial officer of the law firm, CFO of the law firm, saying, "Okay, explain to us where this money went." And he's like, "No." And it turned out that what he was doing was how he was keeping this money from the law firm. He was having the insurance companies or whoever he'd win these lawsuits against pay him directly. And he had like this shadow account where he would put the money in his account and the law firm wouldn't get it. So he would say, we never got the settlement on that. And I'm going like, how can that be? I mean, the whole thing's just bizarre.
Yeah, it sounds like his life is,
well,
I don't know.
It's sort of like this crazy thing with the local gal who, killed that Gumpenberger guy, you know what I mean? And what's her name? Hupp. Pamela Hupp. Hupp. Who now looks, I think it was Hupp, H-U-P-P. I think that was her name. And it turns out she killed her best friend, and framed her husband, who ended up going to jail. Spent like 2 years in the Missouri penitentiary for something he didn't do.
Yes.
Then he gets out, and she decides the police are on her trail, so she goes in someplace in St. Charles, picks up this poor guy. Hey, I'm from Dateline. I need you to help to reenact a crime scene for me. So she takes him to her house, shoots him, kills him, calls 911 while she's killing him on the phone, and say, "Oh, don't come after me, don't come after me." Ah, boom, 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 and he's dead. So, and it's like, okay. And then the bizarre part of that is her mom got thrown off a balcony at a retirement home and was killed, and now they're thinking she did it. I mean, how do people think they're going to get away with that?
I have no idea.
Especially with everybody having a cell phone now. You know what I mean?
Everyone has a cell phone.
I mean, I went to the store the other day, and I was going to steal a candy bar, and I was starting to put it in my shirt, and the guy behind me said, "Dude, don't do it. I got a camera on you. I'm going to turn you in." I go, "Oh, thank you."
You saved me from a life of crime.
Yes. I was going to do 10 to 20. See, now, if I would have been in the city, Kim Gardner would have prosecuted me because...
To the fullest extent of the law.
I stole a candy bar. I stole a bag of M&Ms.
And probably not because of anything other than your Brad Hildebrand.
No. Here's the reason. Because of inflation, a bag of M&Ms used to be like a little small bag. Used to be like, once upon a time was 99 cents. The bag of M&Ms is now $14,000, and that would be a felony.
Kind of a lot.
Yes. Okay, it's 6:49. It is BS.Show. Okay, the first time I heard that song, the first time I heard George Ezra, and how about you? What did you think the guy looked like?
Well, I don't know. I kind of thought he was like a surfer dude.
Well, he had kind of an accent, and I thought he had
did.
like sort of like a Jamaican kind of accent. Not like a super.
Oh, I didn't get that
Well,
vibe.
but he didn't sound like. Can I say it? He didn't sound like a white dude to me. Okay, get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He sounded like a BIPOC, which I am. I'm a person of color. Matter of fact, I have my color chart right here.
Oh my goodness.
I am Mocha Java. I'm not a white dude. Okay. The first time I saw a picture of this guy, I thought to myself, that's not him. He's this whitey white bread guy who looks like he's like 22, but he's actually 29. He looks like a kid. And he's got this voice like that. I'm George Ezra, and I'm singing. And I'm going like, boy, I blew that one out of the water with what I thought the guy looked like. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, I do.
I was expecting some big guy who looked like he used to work on a cargo ship, and you know what I mean, like big old muscles. I've floated the Atlantic many times. Yes, we have this cargo and we take it across the Atlantic, and when we get to port, we have to pick up all this stuff and move it around the ship, and boy, it's tough. And the songs he sings are sort of like that, sort of like.
I like his first one, but you never play the first one.
That's because you like it.
There you go. Mystery solved.
Yeah, that's right. George Ezra. Matter of fact, here, let me read the bio. He's born in 1993. He's 29. He's born in Hertfordshire, England. And the genres, here we go, folk rock, folk pop, soul, and blues. Ezra's second album, blah, blah, blah. Early life, okay? George Ezra Barnett, that's Ezra is his middle name, was born on Sunday. His parents were teachers, with his father Paul teaching at Barnell School in Stevenage. Okay. Barnett attended primary school in Bonangia and then Simon Ball School. He studied at Hertford Regional College. He moved to Bristol in 2011 to study songwriting at the British and Irish Modern Music Institute. Ezra has an older sister named Jessica who accompanies him on tour, and a younger brother named Ethan who is also a singer and songwriter under the name 10 Tons. He must be a rapper. 10 Tons. 10, 10, let me look him up.
A very big rapper.
10 Tons. Oh my God. English songwriter from Hertford. He was released his self-titled album scored a top 40 position in the UK upon release. He's the brother of singer-songwriter George Ezra. 10 Tons. It's his name. I like that name. Hey, what's your name? I'm 10 Tons. Don't mess with me. I'll sit on you. I'll flatten you like a pancake because I'm 10 tons.
I will pop you like a tick.
There'll be nothing left of you. They'll be using you as a frisbee when I get done with you because I'm 10 tons. Yes, that's right.
And he's probably like 4'11" and
I'll sit on you, and
bald.
then I'm going to take you to Roswell, New Mexico, and I'm going to sit on you, and then when we get done with you, you'll be a flying saucer because I'm 10 tons, right? I'm sorry.
You're so weird.
I'm weird.
You are.
Okay, so what else we got to talk about? We're going to talk about the mayor of New York staying in a homeless shelter overnight. Oh man.
Was he trying to come down with the people?
Well, it's a long story because we'll talk about that next hour. There's a bunch of this is the kind of stuff that normally you would call BS on me. You go, that's BS. A bunch of these immigrants who cross the border, they put them up in a hotel, free of charge. They get free food, free board, free, room, rent, a whole bit. And then they want to move them out of a hotel to a homeless shelter, and they won't leave because they like the hotel. Like no S blank blank T. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm thinking to myself, I thought about this weekend. I thought to myself, if I wanted to start my life over, what I'd do is I just one day, secretly, I'd take my car and I'd run it off the boat ramp out at Washmo right there. What is that? What's the
landing?
Rennick Riverfront Park. I just run my car down. I'd do it like 2:00 in the morning. I'd run my car down into the river, and then I would sneak away and I would hitchhike down to Mexico. I'd hitchhike like down to Texas somewhere, and I'd cross the border into Mexico, and then I'd come back across the border, and I just like I'd say like Ich bin eine Gummischuhe. The guys would come up to me, and they go, what? Ich bin eine Gummischuhe, and they go like, what? Like, oh, ich spreche Deutsch. Ich bin eine Gummischuhe, and they go, oh, he's an immigrant from Germany. Oh, we'll let him in for nothing. So then they'd take me to New York, and I'd have a hotel room for nothing, and I'd have a free they call it Obama phone. They give me a free phone, and I'd have free rent. And I'm thinking to myself, this is the life. Those people that come across the border, they don't have any money. What do they need money for? Your government gives them everything. Hey, you need a place to stay? We'll put you in a hotel in New York City. You need food? We'll give you food. You need a phone? Yeah, we'll give you this Obama phone. Everything's great. That's what I'm going to do.
When is this going to transpire?
One of these days. And people will be going, oh, my poor Brad, his car ended up in the river. He's dead. He's dead. And I'm going, I'm in a hotel in New York City. I'm living the life. You know what? Something's screwed up here.
Could it be us?
No, something's messed up.
Well, it is 6:59.
Hold on.
Probably us.
I'm missing an hour here.
I'm missing a lot of things.
Okay, I don't know what to do. I'm missing an hour. The log.
How can you miss an hour?
Okay, here's my log. Okay, it goes from 6:59 to 8 o'clock. There's an hour that's gone. I just looked up and I'm going like, okay, what's going on here? 6:59, 8 o'clock. All of a sudden I'm at 8 o'clock. I have no idea what's going on. Okay.
You are missing an hour.
I'm missing an hour. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do.
What are you going to do? Tell me. Hurry.
Okay, hold on a minute. I'm going to have to do this.
So you're not going to do it
hold it.
Quickly.
Okay, I'm going to play the idea. I'm going to play one song. We'll be back, okay?
Okay, BRB.
It's 7 o'clock. It is BS.Show. I'm Shelley. She's Brad. Together we make BS. 7:03, a Monday morning. Hard to believe it's the 6th day of February already. Man, where's this month going to? It's going too quick.
It is.
Slow things down. Okay, we talked about this briefly last hour. I just was in the other room and listening to another radio station, and their top of the hour newscast was, China's mad at us because we shot down their balloon. I'm going like, get real.
China should have known that was going to happen.
Well, see, I have to tell you, I think we have a serious problem with China. And here's the problem. Why is it that we, like, for example, the NBA. Okay, remember that guy, one of the NBA players, the basketball guy who said something bad about China and they kicked him out of the league. And LeBron James is talking about how America's so bad, but yet, he's kissing the butt of the Chinese people because, do you know this? Do you know, like, the NBA gets billions of dollars from the Chinese? Do you know the story?
No, I do not.
Basketball is huge in China. Huge. I mean, to the point where they run the NBA games in China. And the NBA stars occasionally go to China and get all sorts of money and stuff like that. By the way, remind me to talk about Dr. Fauci. I saw this. I go, oh, my God. Anyway, okay, so here comes this balloon. Now, they're saying it's a weather balloon. Okay, first off, they don't have weather balloons that are that big. Weather balloons are usually typically small. This thing is huge. Now, the other crazy thing about this is, I've talked about this before, and I find this fascinating. I'm not a military guy, but I find the whole, military thing fascinating. My dad was in the Army for 40 years, and I grew up around, not military life, but my father was an engineer, and he was a captain in the Army, retired when he was 62. And 40 years, first 3.5 years of his stint were World War II, and then he was in the reserve for 36 years, okay? And you hang around, his friends would come over, guys were still all in a reserve. Some guys active duty in the whole bit. And you sort of, rub elbows with these guys who are military guys. And I know several guys. Matter of fact, when I used to work for the police department, almost everybody at the police department was a veteran. And you know why that is?
Well, I kind of do, but why?
In many, I don't know if this is still the case, but back in the day, when you took the test, like to become a policeman.
I do.
You got 5 extra points added because you were a veteran. So in other words,
Yes.
Is that still the way it is in government?
I don't know about civil service, but I mean, private industry or city government. I only know about the federal government, and yes, that is true.
Okay. So nothing against that, but if you weren't a veteran, chances are you probably wouldn't get to work for the police department. That was the case. There, I think, a department we had, I don't know, 30, 40 guys. I think there were a handful of guys that weren't veterans. So, okay, I get that. I have no problem with that because my dad was a veteran. Okay, so what you start to see now is all this crazy stuff that's going on with the Chinese. First off, if you know this electronics company they have called Huawei, and the federal government has banned the cellular companies from putting in Huawei equipment because the federal government claims that the Huawei equipment is actually spy stuff. We have TikTok.
Is what, please?
Spy stuff. In other words,
that doesn't surprise me.
In other words,
that they think that.
They have a back door into the cellular system. The Chinese people do. They have a back door into the cellular system so they can track people. You know how it is, you see these murder trials now, and they know exactly where you were. It's like the deal with the guy in Idaho, the four college kids who were killed in Idaho. They tracked him by his cell phone, and what's interesting was his cell phone went off like for 3 hours when they think the murder occurred and came back on again. Now, what does that tell you? I mean, it's like, okay, I'm going to turn my phone off for 3 hours. At 3 o'clock in the morning, when supposedly when he was near the campus where he allegedly murdered the 3 girls and the 1 guy, and then like 2 hours after the murder his phone line comes back online because they track you. They don't know exactly where you're at, but they know what area you're at by which cell tower you're on. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So in other words, if you're driving around during the day and let's say you're going from, St. Charles County into North County, you may be on 10, 15, 20 different cell towers. And they know approximately you drove from someplace in St. Charles County, you were on a cell tower in Wentzville, and then you were on a cell tower in O'Fallon and a couple in St. Peter's. They know pretty much where you're going. You start figuring, okay, they were driving along I-70. And then they went to North County, and you were on a cell phone tower in Bridgeton, and then you were in Hazelwood. Okay, then he went to North on 270. So they pretty much know their track. The Huawei equipment supposedly was being used by the Chinese to spy on us. Now, here's the other interesting thing. I saw this last week, and I thought to myself, gosh, isn't this interesting? The Chinese are buying farm property, but what's interesting is where they're buying the farm property is, strangely enough, near American military bases. Okay? And
the plot thicky.
Right. They're buying this property near these American military bases. Now, the one that comes up recently is this weird story out of North Dakota. And it's sort of an interesting story because Chinese bought a bunch of ground. They bought 370 in 2021. Chinese food manufacturer purchased the 370 acres of ground for a wet corn milling plant. It's going to be the Fufeng USA plant, Fufeng, Fufeng. Location within, guess what, 12 miles of the Grand Fork Air Force Base. So they purchased 370 acres within 12 miles of the Grand Fork Air Force Base. Now,
which is where?
In North Dakota.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This week, the Air Force issued a letter to North Dakota Senator John Hoeven stating that they're concerned about the threat of the foreign-owned land possesses. Listing near and long-term risks to operations in the area, they wrote, Grand Forks Air Force Base is the center of military activities related to both air and space operations. The governor came out and he said, we've joined with city leaders in asking the federal government for clarity on any national security implication related to the Fufeng project, and now we finally got that clarity. The government says, okay, we don't want that plant built there. We don't care if the Chinese bought that plant. We don't want that plant there. So the federal government says this. Guess who they're dumping this thing on?
Who?
It's the plant is within the city of Grand Fork, North Dakota. Okay? So they're essentially telling the city, hey, when these Chinese people come up to the board for approval, tell them no.
They're not going to do it ahead of time?
Well,
they're going to let these people come over here?
Well, but...
And then tell them that they can't come in? Ha.
Okay.
Funny, turn back and go home?
No, think about this for a minute.
What is that?
Think about this for a minute. This is the exact opposite of what normally happens. a city wants to do something, and the federal government says, "Oh, you can't do that. You're too close to a river, or you're too close to an ancient burial hunting ground for Indians, or there's the reverse snap toad that there's 3 of them on that piece of property, and we can't have you put a plant there because the reverse snap toad will become extinct." So that's what it usually happens, where the federal government puts the kibosh on, like, for example, right now, if you want to build something near a river, trust me, I know this because I've gone through this with the crap transmitter site. You have to talk to the Army Corps of Engineers. You have to talk to these people. You got to get approval of this. You got approval of that. Okay, so normally it's the federal government saying, "Hey, you local dude, you can't do this." But the federal government now is going to the city of Grand Fork, North Dakota, and saying, "Hey, guys, we're not telling you what to do, but when these Chinese people come up, these Fufeng people that want to do this plant, this corn milling plant, we think you should say no. We don't want that in our community."
Did they say why?
Because they think it's a spy operation. Why would?
Okay.
Okay. Now here's the other interesting thing.
Fair enough.
Okay. The track of this balloon. Okay. The track of this balloon. It comes through Montana. There's all sorts of Army bases and nuclear missile silos up there in Montana, okay?
I just think it was a Trojan horse.
It comes down through Nebraska, and we've got stuff up there in Nebraska. Then it comes through Missouri, okay? Do you know what is near Sedalia, Missouri? You know what the Air Force base is there?
I do.
It's the
Whitman,
Whitman, whatever you want to call it, Air Force base.
Whitman Air Force Base.
Right. And guess what's stationed there? The B-2 nuclear bombers. Okay? They're all there in Missouri. So you look at the track of the balloon. It comes over right through the St. Louis area. Guess what's here? We got
McDonnell Douglas.
Not McDonnell. We got Boeing. Boeing up in North County grinding out those F-18s and still some of the F-15s. Okay? Then it goes through down through, you track, and every place it's going, it's like, okay, underneath that, that's military, that's, government company that's producing military goods and stuff like that. So it goes out over the ocean, and they shoot it down with a F-22. A Raptor went out and shot a missile into it. Now, here's my crazy idea. Why did they have to shoot a missile into it? Couldn't they have flown a guy up there and fired a couple shots through it so the thing slowly comes down instead of crashing to the ground? Put a couple holes in it, it starts to lose. I guess I don't know if it's got helium or hydrogen or whatever it's got in it to keep it up in the air. Punch a couple holes in it, or put a laser on it and punch a hole with it, or cut a slit with it, a laser. Okay. Now the crazy thing about this is, think about this. This is what bothers me about the government. They say, "Oh, we know when there's an incursion into our airspace." There have been incidents of, I can't remember what it was, a guy who was like in the Cuban army, who stole a plane from Cuba, took off from the airbase, the Cuban airbase in Havana, flew it at 50 feet above the ocean down there, the Gulf of Mexico, and landed at an airport in Florida, and nobody knew it. I'm going okay, where's all our sophisticated radar? Where's all our sophisticated systems? Where's all the sophistication of how come they didn't know where this balloon was? And the crazy thing about it was, this is something I've been fascinated by, asymmetrical warfare. You know what asymmetrical warfare is?
It sounds like it would be even, but no.
It's not even. For years.
Asymmetrical is not even.
Okay,
you are correct.
Symmetrical is even. We get a fast bomber. The Russians have to get a fast bomber. Now the Chinese get a fast bomber. We get the new super duper F-35. The Chinese get whatever they call it, a Yongpong 52 or something like that, and the Russians get one. Okay,
they're so busy keeping up with the Joneses.
That's exactly right. So there's symmetry. Okay, perfect example of of asymmetrical warfare is the USS Cole. But I think it was in the port in Yemen, in a bay in Yemen, and 2 dudes in a rubber dinghy with a Johnson outboard motor on the back. 2 dudes in a rubber dinghy had a ton of fertilizer, same stuff the guys used to blow up the Murrow building in Oklahoma City. They drove up next to the boat, and they blew themselves up and blew a gaping hole in the side of the USS Cole, killed I don't know how many sailors, and the boat almost sunk. Okay, so here they almost sink a $1 billion naval vessel with $50,000 worth of junk. Let's say the dinghy cost them 10, the motor cost them 10. They got $30,000 worth of fertilizer there. Plunk, not even that much. $50,000, okay? When's the last time you heard the United States government say, we've got our new anti-balloon plane that's going to go up and shoot down these balloons? They never talk about that. And now it comes out.
No, they don't.
This happens all the time. These balloons come across the United States all the time. And the Chinese people get upset because we shoot it down. There's this thing called airspace. Here's the thing. If let's say Brad went back to flying helicopters and I went over someplace into Europe and I go, you know what? I'm going to steal a helicopter. I'm going to fly to Beijing. How close do you think I'd get before they shot me down? You know what I mean?
That's China. Everybody's going to Japan.
Well, no. Or let's say I stole a plane. Let's say I was a former, airline pilot, and I stole a 737. I go I'm flying to Beijing. So I fly into, I would be shot down like you wouldn't believe. You know what I'm saying?
Over the ocean.
Right. No, not over the ocean, over their airspace. So it's okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay for them to say, you can't fly over airspace. As a matter of fact, there's certain countries, for a while, they had to reroute all the airliners in Europe because of the Ukrainian thing, because they're afraid of getting shot down flying over Ukraine because the Russians are shooting down, the Ukrainian, fighters and things like that. I don't know. The whole thing just, there comes a point, and I'm going to say this, and I'm not getting myself in trouble. Because there's going to be people who are
Whenever you preface something like that, it's usually probably something you shouldn't say.
Okay, I'm going to say it anyway.
I know you are.
If Donald Trump was still in the White House, this thing would have been shot down someplace 10 minutes after they found it in Montana. You know what I'm saying? He would have said,
agree with that.
Scramble the jets, shoot that sucker down.
Uh-huh. I do agree with you.
Remember, as the story came out, originally the story came out, the Chinese spokespeople says, we have no idea what that is. We don't know what that is. It's not
Just
ours.
like we didn't know where the virus came from.
We don't know about right. We have no idea where this virus came from. We have no idea. We don't know what that is. And then they say, oh, you know what? That might be one of our private sector weather balloons. And then they come, oh, yes, that is one of our balloons. And oh, yes, it's got some electronic equipment on it. Oh, yes. So now they got the poor Navy divers who are down there off the coast of South Carolina, who are down there trying to pick up all the pieces of this thing. And once again, if they wouldn't have shot it down, why couldn't that guy from Disney, what's that old grumpy guy with the movie, what's that movie called, Up? He had all the balloons.
Yes.
Why couldn't they just give him a couple more extra balloons and have him float up there? Okay, now, what was his name? What was the guy's name? You ever seen the movie?
I don't remember that.
The grumpy dude. He was like the grumpy dude from Up. And he's going to fly his house, and he's got balloons on his house. And he's going to go up there, and, okay, now here's what we want you to do. We want you to get in there, and when you get close to it, see this big old sword? Stab a couple holes in the side of that thing. And let it come down real slow. Real slow. And have it land somewhere, they're talking about, well, if we shoot it down. Yeah, you're going to shoot it down. It's going to come down in pieces. Let it come down in one piece. That way we can tell, oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. No? You don't think? What was the name of that guy? Or somebody just texted me. What's his name? I never seen that movie. I thought it was stupid.
Walt? Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, the bigger question we need to be asking ourselves, why was this a distraction from? While we've all been focused on balloon for a week, what else has been going on across the globe that they're hiding? Smoke and mirrors. I agree with that. I won't say who that is because of the fact that he's one of our clients, and I don't want to get him in trouble if he's not allowed to say that kind of stuff. I'll tell you that is off air. Carl Fredrickson. Yeah, that's the guy. No, Ed Asner. It wasn't Ed. Was Ed Asner the voice of the guy in Up? Was that the grumpy?
Yes.
Because Ed Asner is
he was.
Ed Asner is always a grumpy old man. Okay?
He is, but he does it so well.
How come we don't have something that can go up there and, if we can send a man into space, you know what? You know who we need to call on this?
Who?
Elon Musk. I bet you Elon Musk is,
Just give him a jingle. Hasn't he put his cell phone out there yet?
Right. We call him up and say, hey, Elon, and the next time this happens, you come up with some kind of vehicle that could just go up next to that, some kind of a super, like a Tesla balloon or something like that, or a SpaceX balloon, and just go up and just essentially, grab like a big grappling hook, come out and just grab it, and then like punch a hole in it, slow hole, and just slowly bring it down, and that way we can get all the equipment. And then the other thing was the federal government comes out and says, well, we've disabled their equipment in the balloon, so it's not sending back any information. How do they know that? That would be like me saying, hey, Shelley, that pizza that's in your freezer, that frozen pizza in your freezer, I want it, and it's gone out of your freezer now. And you go, oh my God, it is gone. It's gone. How did you do that? It's magic, Shelley. I have this very sophisticated system where I can pull that right out of your freezer. It's BS. I mean, like, I don't, it just drives me nuts. And what's crazy about this is.
What is crazy about this?
You go to Walmart, it's all Chinese stuff. I mean, I get frustrated because.
And they're supposed to be like all American.
I get frustrated because more and more stuff that I buy, when I buy it, made in China. I put a new oil filter in my car yesterday, made in China. And, American company, big company, Wix, makes really nice oil filters. Does anybody make anything in the United States anymore? No. We don't make anything here anymore. We make cars, but most of the parts are made someplace else. They're assembled in Mexico or something like that. I mean, think about it. We used to make shoes. All in Missouri, they had all these plants all over the place. In downtown St. Louis, Brown Shoe Company, International Shoe Company, Brown Shoe Company.
My mom was an international shoe model.
That's right. My dad was an international boot model.
Was he?
Yeah. There's all sorts of pictures of my dad kicking people's butts, and that was what my dad was good at, kicking people's butts. Oh,
whatever. No, really, my mother was a professional shoe model. She was Dottie with the 4B.
She was what?
Dottie. Her name was Dorothy, but they called her Dottie, and she had a 4B size shoe.
Oh, I thought you said 4V. I'm going like 4V.
4B is
that's a wide foot.
No, she had nothing wide about her.
Boy, there's a line I could say, but
yeah, and you won't say it because it's about my mom. I can say anything I want about my mom.
So
you, however, cannot.
I'm still depressed from having dinner with my youngest son and my daughter last week.
What? You never told us what the deal was.
It depresses me.
You never said what they said. That you thought that you were not a good parental.
I look back at my life and I think I failed as a parent. I mean, I failed.
How can you say that? Your kids are wonderful.
I failed as a parent.
If you,
I'm telling you.
This is what I told my Lisa. Her kids were naughty. Your kids are not, but her kids were naughty. They made very poor choices when it came to themselves.
Well, my oldest son
wasn't away from the parents. They were the best humans you could ever possibly imagine. And that's what counts, is the kind of tiny human that you raised.
Well, it gets frustrating when you hear one of your kids say there should be a $30 minimum wage because you can't live on $15 an hour. I'm thinking to myself, you put me on $15 an hour, I can have one hell of a life. I'm telling you. You take me away from this radio station, you just pay me, it'd be $15 an hour, and it'd be what? Is that what $650 a week? Isn't that what it is? $10 an hour from 4 to 40 would be $600 a week. Okay. So yeah, $600 a week. Okay. $2,400 a month. I could live really nice in $2,400 a month. I'm telling you, I could live really nicely. And and once again, me, I'm somewhat of a frugal guy. I drive around in a $300 car. I change my own oil. I mean, I can fix stuff. If you said, Brad, we're going to just pay you, and I'm thinking to myself, what I do, and this past weekend, I'm not trying to, don't get out your violin, and we've had problems, and you know what? Right now, are we off the air again? Jeez Louise, can you listen?
Well, say something.
Test 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1.
Yes, we are off the air.
Oh my God. Okay, hold on a minute. I'm going to try something.
It hasn't been in a while.
Okay, hold on a minute. Okay, this is the test of Brad, the new Brad system. Watch this. Okay, you listening off air?
Yes.
Okay, hold on a minute. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be the first test. Let me do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to Okay. Now. Okay, hold on a minute. Hold on. No. Just stop doing that. Hold on a minute.
Okay.
Okay, you listening off air? Tell me if you hear the computer voice. Tell me the computer voice should come back on here in a minute.
Okay.
Tell me if you hear him.
Yes.
Mr. Computer Voice, and if Mr. Computer Voice is done, hold on a minute. We should be back on right about now. Do you hear me now? Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we are.
There you go.
Am I amazing or what?
You are amazing, actually, Brad. There's not a day that goes by that you.
I did that with my phone.
Aw.
I'm as good as Barack Obama. All I need is a pen and a phone, and I can change the world, right?
You are freaking MacGyver.
Okay, we're going to take a break. Oh, God, I can tell this is Monday. Everything's just going to hell. Okay, we're going to take a break.
You fixed it, and you weren't even there.
Yeah, but I'm missing an hour on the log. Everything's just going to hell. 7:26.
Bravo,
Yeah.
buddy.
Okay, bye. And there's a perfect example. We went off the air just as I was talking about the Chinese, and the codec we're having problems with, which we're having some issues with, is guess where? Made in China. God, what would Donald
It
Trump?
is a predicament.
I'm telling you, they know what we're up to. We were talking bad about them, and they knocked us off the air. We're back. I'm sorry. We're having problems. We can't figure it out. There's one of these things where even one of my broadcast engineering buddies, who is like really smart, much smarter than I am, he essentially said, I don't know what to tell you. It's one of those things where okay. And the problem is there's like 8 things the problem could be at, and I've already fixed, or at least bypassed 3 of them, or essentially replaced equipment on 3 of them, but I got 5 more to go. I'm going to go broke replacing stuff. Okay. Anyway, we're back. Appreciate, people telling us we're off the air, but it's funny, I went right off the air just as we're talking about the Chinese stuff. Okay. I saw this on a website over the weekend, and I want to get your reaction to this, okay?
Okay.
There's these companies that book speakers. If you have like a conference, like let's say it was the,
Yes.
Like you were in,
It's like a speakers guild.
you were in Mary Kay. Did you ever go to the big conference, like where was it, down at Dallas or something, like the big national conference?
Yeah, that's called seminar, and I went a couple times. Yes.
And they had like a keynote speaker, and it's usually like some
They
kind
did.
of famous person,
And they
right?
had one over here when they did master consultants.
Right, but it's usually like some famous person they hire, right?
It's usually somebody in Mary Kay, yes.
Well, in other companies, it's like they hire somebody, like if Xerox is having a big conference, they would hire like an expensive speaker. Okay?
Yes,
So
I agree.
there's these companies, and they're called Speakers Bureau, and what they do is they put big companies together with speakers. Okay? Guess
Okay.
what I found on this one company's website? Guess who is now on the speakers trail? He's out there giving speeches.
Who?
Anthony Fauci.
Really?
And his fee range is, ready for this? $50,000 to $100,000, depending upon how far he has to travel.
That's actually the going rate for somebody of his stature.
But once again, he was the highest paid government employee. The president makes $400,000 a year. Fauci made more. I think Fauci made $450,000. He gets more than the president. Now, first off, how's that? Why is that possible? I know why it's possible, because you're going to tell me you were an ex-government employee, that he went way, he's there forever, and he got all these bonuses and blah, 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 blah. But now he's
Pretty close.
Now he's making between $50,000 and $100,000 a speech. Let's say he makes one speech a week. And let's say he makes one speech a week for $100,000. And he does that every week. He goes, and keep in mind, when you do that, everything else is included. Whoever hires you, they have to pay your airfare and hotel, and they pick you up in a limo, and they have your valet, and and you get food, and everything's taken care of. You have no expenses whatsoever. Okay, so if he did that, let me think, every week for $100,000 a week times 52 week, that's what, $5.2 million? Am my math right? Am I close? $5.2
Pretty
million?
close.
$5.2 million? I'm sorry. I have a problem with this. I really do. It's frustrating to me, because you look back at this now. You look back at, now you look at this 3 years ago. We went through this COVID thing. 3 years ago, right about now, was when the wheels started falling off. You don't remember? Think about it. January, February, March. It was when.
Are you talking about 2020?
Yes, 3 years ago. Okay.
It was horrible.
Okay, and by next month, things got really creepy, and everybody was going nuts, and you couldn't buy toilet paper, and you couldn't go in stores. You had to stand. I still remember I got yelled at. I don't know if I told you the story. I got yelled at a Office Max store because the checkout guy, yelled at me because I was too close to the woman in front of me. He says, "Sir, you're less than 6 feet in front of that woman. From that woman." Excuse me. Matter of fact, to this day, you go to places. There's a post office I go to from time to time that still has the dots painted on the floor. They go out the door of the post office and down the sidewalk, and that's the dot you're supposed to stand on because they're all 6 feet apart. And it's like, okay, all this crazy stuff. We couldn't do this, we couldn't do that. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. You could, blah 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 blah. I mean, you look back at that and you go like, and remember, I have it somewhere. Hold on, where I have it, and you get mad at me every time I play this one. Is it this one? You know what?
What?
Do you know that Kamala Harris knew that the balloon was up there in space? I mean, the Chinese balloon was up there.
Why? Because she's on top of it, so?
She knew because they talked about, how everybody says it was the size of 3 school buses? Kamala saw it, and she looked up in the sky, and she said...
sized it up herself.
And she said...
Who doesn't love a yellow school bus, right? Can you raise your hand if you love a yellow school bus, right? There's something about many of us went to school on the yellow school bus, right?
Oh. It's like, just turn it off.
Okay, let me see if
Did I say that out loud?
Yes, you did.
Oh, my speaker was on.
Where am I I can't find Fauci anymore. Where he comes out and he says, you don't need a mask. I'm going, I played this before. You got mad at me when I played this. Where is it?
That's because I thought you were making fun of my man.
Fauci?
I think that he had a lot of responsibility thrown at him. I mean, it was worldwide responsibility.
Do you know, a lot of people, Shelley really likes Fauci. And you know why? What's interesting about this is Shelley met Dr. Fauci. Shelley won't own up to this, but Shelley met Dr. Fauci. And, they say that guy's kind of a ladies' man. He's got, sort of that, hey, I'm Dr. Fauci. You want to go have a drink? And so this is a true story. Shelley's never told this story before. But Shelley was invited to a personal meeting with Dr. Fauci because he heard her defend him on this radio station. I wasn't a big fan of Dr. Fauci, and Dr. Fauci, heard that I was not being nice to him on the air. So he had a personal meeting with Shelley, and as he walked into the room and met Shelley, he walked up to her, took her hand, kissed her hand, and said,
"She was the kind of woman that made you want to drop to your knees and thank God you were a man."
You're hilarious. Such a liar, but hilarious nonetheless.
Let me see if I can find Dr. Fauci where he says, it says, I got it. I need to hire somebody to come in and fix this for me because I'm too ADD to go. I've done 3 pages of this stuff where he says, "You don't need a mask. You don't need a mask." And that was in February, of 2020, where he said, "You don't need a mask."
I don't think so.
He did.
I don't think it was in February of 2020 because that's when we were starting to gear up for COVID. He said that later.
What's this one? I haven't played this one in a while. Let me play this one. Hold on a minute.
You mean through the assholes?
Oh, that's weird.
You mean through the assholes?
Excuse me?
You mean through the assholes?
I can't tell what that says, but I'm thinking, please don't play it again.
And I would moon her.
Yeah, that was Tiffany.
Okay, here's the...
It was a struggle to be my child.
I haven't played this one in a while. Here's the Virginia School Board one. Okay, this is... Here, hold on, let me play this. This is so funny.
Phil McCracken, Suk Mahidic, Ophelia McHawk, Eileen Dover, Don Kiddick, Wayne Kerr, Aaron Sorkin.
Do you know what that was? Do you know what that was?
Yeah.
No, that was a Virginia school board meeting where you had to register to speak at the school board meeting. So some prankster registered all those names.
It's like, oh my goodness.
And they read them. This is the guy reading the names. In other words, he's telling the order that the speakers were going to be in. So they give him the list. Here's the people who are going to speak at this Virginia school board meeting.
Phil McCracken, Suk Mahidic, Ophelia McHawk, Eileen Dover, Don Keating, Wayne Kerr, Aaron Sorkin.
Wow.
Aaron Sorkin's probably the funniest one because that's the only one that's real, but he wasn't there. I can't find. Is this it? Hold on a minute.
Straighten their back up and then they put their face close to mine.
No, that's not it.
I don't know how to explain it. They're choppy.
No, that's not it.
FA Mobile 317.
No, that's not it.
I'm having a party. Want to come?
Oh, that's it. How about this one?
I don't know about you, but I'm not going to turn around and look for where my mask is.
Yeah, right. We're going to do that. Yeah.
I'm an FAA engineer. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Brad, don't play that. I'm an FAA engineer. That did in scratch, scratch, scratch. But don't play it.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big
It's
deal.
hilarious, isn't it?
It's too big to send. I don't know how to explain it. They're choppy.
But I had a problem talking on the radios. Straighten their back up and then they put their face close to mine.
He's in the intensive care ward at Our Lady of the Worthless Miracle.
Our Lady of the Worthless Miracle. Leslie Nielsen. We miss Leslie Nielsen. He was so funny.
Yeah.
No. I found it. Here they are. Okay, here they are. Here's Dr. Fauci cuts, okay? These were him 3 years ago. 3 years ago, this is Dr. Fauci.
People should not be walking around with masks.
Okay, there's the second cut.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask.
Okay, that's Dr. Fauci 3 years ago, right about now, on 60 Minutes. He's on the CBS News program 60 Minutes. Say, we don't need masks. Here once again, this is what he said. He said,
people should not be walking around with masks. Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask.
The guy's a hypocrite. I'm sorry. 1 minute he says don't wear masks, the next minute he tells you wear 3 masks, right? And they've come out with all this research talking about how the cloth masks worthless. No, don't do anything. They're no good. They're just worthless, right? So frustrating. So frustrating.
Did you ever determine if we were supposed to wear a mask or we weren't supposed to wear masks?
Who knows anymore? They're talking about.
I will wear a mask if I feel like wearing a mask, and I think that I'll look at my surroundings because I'm trying to do better for that. And if I'm in a crowd that masks, I will go ahead and put my mask on.
So in other words, you're one of those people that if everybody wore pink polka dots, you'd go home and wear your pink polka dots, right?
No, I do it out of respect.
Oh, so.
Every time a mosquito bites you, it's a new chip that is being implanted into your bloodstream.
Did you hear that one?
Every time a mosquito bites you, it's a new chip that is being implanted into your bloodstream.
Yeah, it's true.
Was I engulfed in the greatest conspiracy since the hosts of The View were discovered to be robots?
Every time a mosquito bites you, it's a new chip that is being implanted into your bloodstream.
Whatever it is, the answer's no.
Always be yourself, unless you suck. It must really suck to be that dumb.
I'm an unadulterated fan.
I want to live in a van down by the river.
Can we all get along? Can we get along?
Shelley, you are amazing. How do you do it?
Shelley, we listen online in our country. How do you say, you got it going on, girlfriend? Rock on, sister.
People should not be walking around with masks.
Every time a mosquito bites you, it's a new chip that is being implanted into your bloodstream.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask.
Is that from
Was I engulfed in the greatest conspiracy since the hosts of The View were discovered to be robots?
Hold on, here, listen to this again.
Was I engulfed in the greatest conspiracy since the hosts of The View were discovered to be robots?
Did you know that the ladies on the View are all robots?
No.
Yeah, they are. They're all robots.
Whoopi Goldberg is not a robot.
She's a robot. Yeah, they're all robots.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What's Ozzy Osbourne's wife's name?
Sharon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you hear that he has to quit touring?
Can I tell you why? Because drugs are no one's friend. That's why. I mean, like, if my kids got into drugs, I'd say, hey, look at Ozzy Osbourne. You want to turn out like that? And they go, oh, my God, no. I'm going to not do drugs anymore. Okay, fine. We fixed that.
I happen to like Ozzy Osbourne.
He blew his brain out back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. That's all there is to it.
Everybody did.
No, not everybody did. That's wrong. There are a lot of people that didn't. Don't say, well, everybody did it. That's like saying, everybody, back in the 50s, everybody had a hula hoop. No.
Whiny.
Not everybody had a hula hoop. In 60s,
You are whiny. You're grumpy and whiny this morning.
Yeah. And the point is, we have to take a break. I have no idea what's going on with the log. It's totally screwed up. So I'm gonna just essentially say, here, hold on a minute, let me do this. I'm gonna just hit a button and hopefully something will happen. It's 7:47. I still remember that great review I read not too long ago about a guy when a very famous music reviewer, when he was reviewing Meghan Trainor's first song, All About the Bass, and he said she's a one-hit wonder. Yeah, boy.
Well, she clearly isn't, because she was
I know, but
still making it when she was doing it for other people.
Well, don't you think it's funny that these experts come out, well, she's a one-hit wonder, that's a novelty song, and it'll never go anywhere, she'll never have another song again. She's had, I don't know how many dozen songs, all of them good. She's
pretty much a doll.
An extremely talented woman. Okay, 7:52.
Oh, BTW?
Yes. I'm getting pushback, by the way, on
Ozzy took 2 Grammys last night.
What for?
Best rock album and best metal performance. Boom.
What does that mean? Are you siding with the smartest woman in the world? She
texted
love me.
Ozzy.
She texted me. He stopped touring due to a spine injury. 0 to do with drugs. Oh, so smart one. She's saying I'm a dumb one. I am. I'm the dumbest guy in the room. You talk about smartest guy in the room. If you want to dumb down the room, just invite me and I'll show up, and IQ will be drastically decreased. Average IQ will go down about 3 points, more than that, maybe 30 points.
And the thing about that is it's like you're wicked smart.
I'm not.
And you just
if I was wicked smart, I wouldn't be here.
Not wicked smart.
I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be touring with Dr. Fauci.
Dr. Fauci.
I'd be on tour with Dr. Fauci. He'd be making $50,000, I'd be making $100,000. Yes, I'm the guy that predicted 50 years ago when I was born. I predicted that there will be a day when the Chinese will come and they'll fly balloons over our house, and we'll give it. And they'll, that's what they're doing. They're dropping virus from that balloon. That was what they're doing. They're dropping a new virus.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they had these little droplets came out of that balloon. Hoof and mouth.
I still think it was a Trojan horse.
Hoof and mouth disease. Okay. Have we lost?
That was funny.
Have we lost our way this morning? Yes, we've lost our way. Okay. Okay. I get this thing that comes up every single time on my phone. I tell you, I get the ads for are the fancy women's underwear, the panties that are $350 at Saks Fifth Avenue.
Adore me.
Why are they sending me? Once again, they talk about, you with digital advertising, we can target your, we know exactly who's looking at these ads, and we'll target those ads. I'm not buying $350 panties at Neiman Marcus. I'm not buying them for me, and I'm not buying them for nobody. So stop showing me the $350 panties at Neiman Marcus, okay?
You wouldn't buy your special girl a nice set of lingerie?
I wouldn't buy Kamala Harris $350 panties at Neiman Marcus. I mean, once again, it's ridiculous.
That would be kind of creepy.
It's just ridiculous. Okay. If you got money, flaunt it. Okay. So I get this thing all the time, and it's from the Herald Weekly. It always shows up in my ads, and it's more facts about Iceland that make it unlike any other country in the world, okay? And all it is picture after picture after picture of gorgeous, blonde, young women. and it says, these are all the women of Iceland, okay? And they're like, and even the cops. Here's a picture of, like, right here. We go right. Visiting this interesting country has been on many bucket lists and is probably being added to even more bucket lists at this very moment. It's only natural you'd want to know more about this place. To that end, we probably present another collection of facts about this Arctic nation to quench your wanderlust. And it's got all, I get the same thing, and I get the same thing about ladies of Sweden. I'm going like, hey, if you'd like to travel to Sweden, every woman in Sweden is 5'4", weighs 110 pounds, and is 38, 24, 36, and blonde and blue eyes. That's every woman in Sweden.
That's your demographic.
Yeah, right. They're 24, and they're hot as a firecracker. Nope, not my demographic. So I'm going like, what is?
Have you ever heard the expression, that's too much car for you?
Well, yeah, right. Okay, so every one of these things, it's like, okay, like, and here we go again. Now, here we go. They're targeting me, okay? So here's an ad that I have no idea what language it's in. It's NYHAFIDFEB. Apparently it's some kind of thing. It's February in a different language. I have no idea what it is because I got all these crazy little accents. The D's have like a cross in the top of the D, and the top of the D is like going back the other way. I have no idea what that language is. And the website is Boost, BOOZT.com, okay? And then they've got all this stuff. Like, for example, there's another ad. I mean, here's an ad for Jeep, okay? I would not ever own a Jeep, okay? Here's an ad.
Why?
And like, for example.
Why wouldn't you own a Jeep?
I'm not a Jeep guy. I've never been.
Well, sure you are.
No.
Honey, if it's a Jeep thing. If you have to explain it, it's not for you.
I had a Jeep Cherokee, bought it new. It was the worst car I ever had. I mean, and it's to the point, under warranty, they couldn't fix it. It had this crazy problem that when you drove it, like in the summer, and it got hot, not overheating, it just would just stall, and then you couldn't get it started. It went to the dealer. I don't know how many times they never could fix it. They never could fix it. Oh, we don't know what's wrong with it.
Well, it sounds to me that's like a lemon law.
Well, we
A
finally.
little late now, buddy.
We finally. I can't remember. I think I sold it to some guy that knew how to fix it or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a Jeep guy. If I were going to buy a fancy schmancy truck right now, I'd buy the new Hummer. That's what I'd buy.
You'd buy the new what?
The new Hummer.
The Humvee?
No, not Humvee. Hummer. The new Hummer. It's the new Hummer. It's all electric. And
okay,
they're
after me seeing what those people were going through on the highway, trying to get from point A to point B with their windows rolled down, they had no lights on. It was
who are you talking about?
They had to be doing 45.
Who are you
50.
talking about? Who's this?
Some people in an electric car that were going down the highway.
And they what? They had their windows down and they had the lights off?
Yeah.
You sure that wasn't you? Doing 40?
No, I can tell the difference.
So why do you know that their battery was almost dead?
That was an assumption on my part because they never sped up.
Yeah.
And they had 5 people behind them.
Yeah. Why didn't you
And they were driving extra slow. So the only thing I could think of was they needed a charge.
Extra. I got a good one there. There's another one. The only thing I think of, they needed a charge. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This show has totally gone off the rails.
It's your fault. You're the host.
Okay, Ozzy.
I'm just the co-host.
Hold it. Ozzy Smith, if you're listening right now, listen carefully, Ozzy.
Ozzy.
Don't take drugs. Don't take drugs. Don't take drugs.
Ozzy Osbourne.
And you know why? You know what happens when you take drugs?
What?
Would she rather carry 20 pounds of batteries or a rolled up solar panel?
It is not her fault that she took the brown acid.
Okay. We have to get out of here.
7:59. It's Monday, baby.
You got 5
Have
seconds to say goodbye.
Week. Peace and I fly.
7:59.
Have you heard about Salt River Automotive? Not only are we open for business and ready to serve you, we are sponsors of the BS in the Morning Show on Westplex 107.1. Check us out on Facebook at Salt River Automotive LLC. See you soon.